fellow teachers, homeschool moms, or even homeschool dads. I'm the one that shares again with 2 Cute Classrooms, and today we're going to talk about the biggest mistake that novice teachers tend to make. We all know that when we first start teaching, we're not quite as sure of ourselves as we become the longer we're teaching. But there's a mistake that I've noticed a lot of younger teachers making now. I'm sure I probably made it, and some more of us did too when we first started. But we're going to discuss and we're going to talk about things we can do instead of that, how we can avoid this. And that mistake is to keep going ahead with lessons when our students are clearly left behind. Some districts have pacing guides. A lot of them have standards that have to be covered by a certain period in the school term. That's great. Always follow your district's policy. Always. However, there are going to be some students that are not quite on grade level, that are not quite ready to move on with the standard or move on at the pace in which they are recommending that you do. When you have a problem like this and you have to follow your pacing guide, what you need to do is you're going to have to stop and go back, and you're going to have to do a lot of reteaching. So you may be saying, when can I do this? There's not enough time in my schedule. There's not enough time in the day to do that, because I am being required by my district to cover a certain amount of material by a certain time. So what you have to do at that point is, if you're an elementary school teacher, then this can be addressed at your teacher table. If you are not a elementary school teacher, if you are a middle school teacher, then hopefully, of course with elementary too, hopefully you have an interventionist. If you do not, then you're going to have to set up centers, and you're going to have to set up some type of homework or rotation in which you can cover this. Another thing that you might want to consider doing is, if you cannot get it in during the school day, I am a big advocate for video. I have learned if I can't get it done during school time, I can make a video where I can go explain this again using maybe my Zoom or something else where I can record myself teaching that lesson or explaining it and post it in my students' Google Classroom or some other place where they can go back and look at that lesson. They don't just have to listen to me. Of course, there are other people, other videos, other resources that they can use. And this might have to be during a time when it's outside of school. I know your students may not want to do lessons or extra work away from the classroom, but reality is there is just not enough time in the natural school day to do this at a regular school. So this is an option that you need to consider. You need to consider video at this point. So that way you will be able to get your lessons done according to your pacing guide, according to your district's policy, and yet still be able to go back and reteach your students. If you have students that still have questions, then you might want to set aside maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week or whatever's going to work for you, when you can meet with those students, particularly one-on-one, where it's just you and them, or it's an extremely small group, and you can cover the standards that you need to cover with them. Because I'll give you a great example. I'm working with some students now on multiplying fractions. They are struggling multiplying fractions, but I discovered the reason that they are struggling with multiplying fractions is because they have not learned their multiplication tables. So it's hard to multiply fractions when you can't multiply in general. So the thing is, they're going to have to go back and learn their multiplication tables. We're having to work on going over this over and over again. So again, this was Miss Shields with 2 Cute Classrooms, talking about the one biggest mistake that teachers make is leaving their students behind and not addressing the issue that it needs to be addressed. I'll see you again in the next video. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, to like, to follow, to subscribe. So, thank you so much for tuning in.